I want to say this peace and blessing before we bring up Senator Durbin, and the voices of everyone in this room, including the many who are not here from the planning committee, have been a critical part of this narrative. So please, one more time, give it up to everyone for the last 2 years who made this happen. All of you guys, staff, leaders, people like Ali Bilal and Sadia Shamar, is here, all of you in the background. They really helped for the last couple of years to do much of the technical heavy lifting behind a lot of these meetings. You know, we had just, and Jeff mentioned this, used the word trauma. We heard this is the 2nd year anniversary of the death, murder, execution, cover-up of the death of Laquan McDonald in the 8th District. We had a profound, difficult conversation an hour ago in the hospital talking about trauma. Moments matter. August 5th, 1966 mattered. That moment mattered. It mattered for King because that was a symbol. Coming into Marquette Park, King was not just targeting Marquette Park, but a larger narrative in the country that America, we had to do better. We couldn't no longer hide what's happening in our urban centers, the segregation, the residential discrimination that was leading to pain and trauma for families needed to be brought out into the open. So King never regretted what happened that day. Even when asked, with blood trickling down his forehead, he never regretted, because we needed, he said, very specifically, to bring that out in the open. So moments matter. Moments matter for the families that are deported and detained, for young children to see their mother being deported and detained and brought into detention facilities. Moments matter for the young children growing up in our neighborhoods who have seen trauma after trauma after trauma. Moments matter. Moments matter for those who are having conversations, serious conversations about police accountability. What happened 2 years ago mattered. And that is about dealing with trauma. But the flip side of trauma is also healing. And we need healing. And part of that healing is a recognition that it's not just the Latino community that suffers with detention and deportation. It's not just young brothers and sisters in Inglewood who suffer with violence. It's not just families across the South and West Side that are suffering with police accountability. All of us suffer. When my children, who grow up very privileged, we live here in Marquette Park, but they have the privileged upbringing of 2 family working, mother and father. When I brought them to my mother's house, and there was balloons on the day of Eid, she lives here in Olympia Fields, I realized one of my children said, "Who got shot, Daddy?" And I realized how even kids growing up in a relatively privileged environment had been internalizing the collective trauma. We're all internalizing it, and we all need moments of healing. What we did on the 5th and 6th, that moment mattered as well. Sure. That moment was a moment of healing. Sure. It was a moment of reconciliation. It was a moment that allowed us to radically reimagine Marquette Park, the city, and the world as it could be. Sure. There was artists, there was organizers, and activists. And yeah, it was a moment, but having 1,400 people march down that street, and now thanks to Greater Southwest Development Corporation, you'll see banners all up and down that street, identifying now Marquette Park as the site of the Living Memorial. That moment mattered. It mattered for me and my children, who walked with rabbis and priests and organizers from all across the city, that the idea for fighting for a different type of vision for not only Chicago, but America and the world, that matters. And so thank you all for helping us lift up that moment and celebrate that moment to keep the journey for justice alive. So again, thank you all. Please give it up for everyone who sacrificed. We leave out, like Alia said, we want Camille, Rasmia, Pastor Ron, all of you who were out there that day, all of the people we showed Senator Durbin. There are images cast in bronze that are inspired by people like Rafi, Camille, Fatima, Imelda, Sister Immacula, all of these people that are living in the community, and that's why we call it a living memorial. And so the fight and that spirit of what we continue to do lives on every day, no matter how dark, no matter how challenging the moment gets. The next person that we're going to bring to close us out today, before we have a prayer and closing reflection, just a closing prayer with Father Tony and Sister Immaculata, is a person that obviously needs no introduction, but he's been fighting a good fight for so many of us on lots of issues. He's been an ally. He's also been a recipient of sometimes when we agitate him around issues, we want to hear his voice louder. But he never has stopped coming back to neighborhoods like Marquette Park. He's never stopped knocking on our doors, sitting at tables, listening to us, hearing the pain, hearing the trauma, and fighting for moments for healing. Thank you, Senator Durbin, for taking time, for being with us today. Please give it up to the one-year Senator Durbin.
Thank you, Rami. Thanks to all of you.